Mr. Speaker, I rise once again this morning to thank the men and women of the federal law enforcement community, as well as those brave soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines for what they do to protect this great nation, both abroad and here at home. Certainly we're thankful for them each and every day for protecting us and our nation, but recent events again remind us of their importance. After the Capitol was thrown into lockdown last week, Capitol Police and other federal officers sprang into action to protect the building and those inside. In their rush to service, I'm sure none of them thought about the fact that as we continue in a partial government shutdown, that they may not be paid, even though for some that may have been the case. While there's uncertainty about the nation's fiscal path in Washington, that uncertainty should never be passed along to our service members and federal law enforcement officers. The Strengthening Homeland Security, Intelligence, and Essential Law Enforcement Departments, or SHIELD Act of 2013, would alleviate that doubt. This simple bipartisan legislation that I've introduced prioritizes and protects pay for soldiers and law enforcement personnel if borrowing limits are reached, or there is an interruption in appropriations like there is right now. In our most difficult hours, we rely on our law enforcement officers and our military for the protection of our life, liberty, and freedom. No service member or critical officer protecting the United States at home or abroad should have to worry about their paycheck in the event of a government shutdown, nor should they be used as a bargaining chip in partisan budget debates. Thankfully, during this current budget impasse, pay for our troops was secured early through a bipartisan vote, and I applaud the President for agreeing to it. However, the SHIELD Act would codify the measure into law, meaning paychecks would never again be threatened and action would never have to be taken to protect this very basic principle. This bill already has the strong support of organizations like the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association, which represents dedicated first responders. And just as important, it is common sense legislation that everyday Americans understand and expect from a Congress that often stumbles in its responsibilities. Mr. Speaker, we owe it to the brave men and women who protect us, both abroad and in our communities, to make sure their pay doesn't become a political pawn at the whim of battling ideologies. No member of our federal law enforcement community or armed services should have to worry about the financial situation of their family back home while they are on the job, nor should we let our financial problems rest on the backs of those who selflessly serve the American people. By ensuring funding for critical federal officers and our troops, we are allowing agencies and departments to sustain a strong law enforcement and military presence at all times, regardless of fiscal conditions. Mr. Speaker, I urge support for this common-sense bipartisan legislation and call for leadership in both parties to consider the SHIELD Act for quick passage. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.